This is an incredibly vulnerable, special episode that I decided to co-create with one of my clients who came to me for coaching and support to leave an abusive relationship. It's a very sensitive episode, but we wanted to do this together because she has made so many incredible changes within herself and in her life. She's gone from being in this toxic, abusive 3-year relationship where she felt so powerless and, in her words, weak, that she wasn't able to leave, that she just wanted him to love her and she wasn't getting the love that she deserved, to where she is now, which she has left the relationship. She has blocked him, gone no contact, and she has found that power within herself once again. And she wants other women to know that it is possible for them, to give them hope that this is possible for them too. So I'm incredibly excited to share this episode with you. Her identity will remain anonymous, and throughout the episode she will be referred to as Cara. And the program that we talk about in the episode is my one-on-one private coaching program. It's a 16-week intensive program specially reserved for those who do want that high touch, private, personalized approach, whether they are struggling to leave a relationship, healing from a breakup or toxic relationship patterns, or if you want to work on your anxious attachment patterns that you've recognized in your current or past relationships, and you want to embody being more securely attached, becoming confident, calm, and assured in yourself and in your relationships. I only take a handful of people at a time, so there are limited spots, but more information will be in the show notes about the program that we talk about in today's episode. So without further ado, let's dive into this incredible episode. Hello and welcome back to the Relationship Rehab Podcast with me, Samantha. I am an attachment trauma therapist and relationship coach, and we are here to heal our attachment styles, to break free of those anxious, avoidant, toxic relationship cycles so we can feel more secure, calm, and confident within ourselves by doing the inner work. This is what this podcast is all about. Today's episode is a very sensitive one. We're diving into the topic of trauma bonds, and I want to also share a story on this episode that's truly moved me. It is one of my clients who has come to me after being in an abusive relationship for 3 years. When she started to work with me in my one-on-one practice, she finally broke free of this trauma bond, of this cycle that she has been trapped in for 3 years. And now she's like a completely different woman. I get into sessions with her. It's like she's not even the same person. And it's only been 2 months that we've been working together in this program. So a little bit of a trigger warning if this is something that you have some past experiences where we will be talking about abuse. So I want to make sure that you are in a space where you can listen in and take the lessons and the learnings from this episode. But if it's something that is really still raw and very sensitive for you, then you are always welcome to come back to it at a time where you feel more ready. You're going to hear from my client firsthand some snippets of her own experience, because we have talked about her wanting to really support women that were in the space that she was in only 2 months ago. She has realized the power of being in a program, whether it's coaching or therapy, with someone who offers this safe space to be able to break free of something that has got such a chokehold on you. So you're able to get to the other side, which is this unspeakable feeling of freedom and joy and happiness. And she is in such a great place now that she wants to share her story. So I'm here to speak on behalf of her, but like I said, you're going to hear from her firsthand as well. So this is a co-creation that we are making to reach those women that may find themselves stuck in a trauma bond, stuck in an abusive relationship, and maybe everyone around you is saying, why don't you just leave? And as we know, it is not as simple as that. I have been there myself. I was in one for 8 years. And to be fair, it wasn't abusive and unhealthy for the whole time, but it did get to that point towards the end. So maybe you're in this space now, and in that case, this episode is for you. This is going to provide you some insight into why it's really tough to leave, why a trauma bond is so strong, what it even looks like if you're not even sure if it is a trauma bond in the first place, if it even is abuse, and what you can do, some small steps that has really worked for my client and that you can start to implement and do for yourself as well, and where you can get some support. I also just want to say, for the sake of this episode, my client is going to remain anonymous, but we will use the name Cara. This is not her real name, but we will use Cara for the sake of this episode. So, first of all, I want to explain what trauma bonding is. This is, again, jargon words that have been thrown out there that people just use willy-nilly, that they are trapped in trauma bonds. What a lot of people think that trauma bonding means that two people are bonding over shared trauma, that, oh, you have trauma, I have trauma, let's just be in trauma together. That's not necessarily what it means. What it means is it is a specific type of attachment that an abused person feels for their abuser. It is very strong, and it is perpetuated and strengthened through what we call cycles of intermittent reinforcement. So typically, a trauma bond rests on an imbalance of power. So the abuser feels like they have power over the abused person. And after each circumstance of abuse or mistreatment, there always follows a pattern where this person professes guilt, love, regret, over apologizes, and tries to make the abused person needs them and they need to stay in the relationship. It always starts with some element of love bombing and being anxiously attached. Sometimes we can fall into these traps because they feel so good, and it is not our fault. It is our attachment system responding in this way, that this person is giving us all this attention, all this love that our inner child craving to receive. And this person's choosing me. They're making me feel so special, so loved. I can't believe my luck that I'm being chosen when he could have his pick of the bunch. Now, chemicals are raging around your body at this time. Sometimes it can feel like you're so high on love. It's like a drug, and you feel like you have no control over it, that it is just engulfing you, overwhelming you. You can't eat, you can't focus, you just want to be with this person all the time. And you feel like you're in love. And a lot of us use this definition of it being in love because, let's be honest, we probably have just met this person, but the way that they're showing up in this love bombing space is making us feel so good. And it is literally like we have taken a dose of heroin. So before we know it, we're head over heels in love. We're planning our life around this person. And slowly but surely, they will start to chip away at your self-worth. They will start to criticize you, blame you, gaslight you, manipulate you in some way, make you feel disrespected, make your opinions not matter, gaslight you into thinking that it's actually your fault, that they're not in the wrong. They will start to make you feel like there's something wrong with you, that you're lucky to be with them when they've got their pick of the bunch and you need to change. And the more that this cycle goes around and around in circles, the stronger the bond can actually be, because the cycle is meant to keep you in this space of experiencing the abuse, getting to the point where you might be considering leaving. And then they come back around with all their apologies, with all their love, and then you start to fall into a space of hope. You hope that things will be differently the next time. You hope that they will actually stay true to their promises. You really want it to work out. You really want the vision or what you've experienced at the beginning of the relationship to be the reality of the relationship. And it can cloud our judgment. It can make us blind to the abuse because we are living in this space of fantasy because we really want it to work out. So let's go a little bit deeper with this. So when Cara came to me, honestly, looking at her, meeting her for the first time, she was a shell of a woman. Her whole body language, her shoulders were hunched. She was crying the whole time. The look in her eyes was just of complete despair. I'm a very sensitive person and I do have very strong energetic boundaries, but even on this call, I felt her grief. I felt her pain, and I was even welling up with her because what she was explaining to me, what she was actually going through in those moments was devastating. And like I said, I've been there myself, and she had tried everything, which normally is the case. We've tried to leave multiple times. We've had our friends, our family telling us that we need to leave, we need to get out. And this was Cara's story as well. So many of her friends and family who loved her was begging her to leave this man. And sometimes we do. We block them, just like Cara did. She blocked him. She really tried her best to stay away from him. But it is in those evenings where you may be alone and you may start to miss them and you may start to think about how things once were. And then they find a way to contact you. In Cara's story, he would email her. And before you know it, you fall back into it. Before you know it, you're eating up their promises, their false promises. You're back in that bubble of hope and you really want things to be different this time. So she's tried that. She even tried traditional therapy. She tried reading podcasts and books and pure willpower. And she was saying on the call, I cannot do this alone. I need professional help. I need someone to walk with me on this journey and tell me what I need to do because I don't know what I need to do. Just a side note, it is not about me telling you what to do. It is about me being a safe space and mirroring to you your strength, that you have the capacity to do it, and I'm with you every step of the way. And this is what I said to Cara. I cannot do it for you, but what I can do is hold your hand through it. And even in that moment, you know you've got someone with you who is going to support you, is not going to judge you, and is going to be the strength that you need and is going to work with the wounds and the beliefs that are keeping you trapped in the bond. Because friends and family, they mean well, but sometimes they can feel a bit fed up and they may, not on purpose, but there may be an element of shame there that causes you to feel embarrassed that you've gone back to this person. And they can't dig deep with you with the wounds and the beliefs. They're not trained professionals. So sometimes, yes, support is everything. But when you have someone who understands what's going on and can actually bring that up to the conscious, start to reprogram that. And then, just like in Cara's story, just after one session, she broke free of this trauma bond and she has not gone back since. So let me come back to her story. What she told me was in the space that she was currently in, she was constantly begging to be loved by him. She was begging for love. She was chasing it. She was just nibbling on any breadcrumb he would give her. And he knew this. He knew that he had her in a chokehold and he could be dishing out breadcrumbs and that would be enough. Because in that moment, he had whittled Cara's self-worth down so much that he was just doing what he wanted. He treated her the way that he wanted. He would hide her from his friends and family. And she was telling me about a time where she showed up to a football game to support him and he was fuming. He was livid that she had turned up. And she's like, but I'm your girlfriend. Why would you be upset that I have turned up at your football game? And he disrespected her. He publicly humiliated her in that moment and embarrassed her. He made her feel that there was something wrong with her, that she would even do this in the first place. He would listen to other people before listening to her. He spoke down to her, called her names, controlled her. She had to ask for his permission to do things. She couldn't see her friends. She was telling me about a childhood friend that just so happened to be male that she had been speaking to for most of her life. All of a sudden now, she could not have that friendship. So he started to isolate her from her friends, from her family. He wanted her to be available for him at all times, but he was not available for her because everyone else came before her. And he would use ChatGPT to gaslight her, to manipulate her. And this is something that I am seeing too often in unhealthy relationships where people are going to ChatGPT to validate them and then screenshotting the messages and sending it to the person, perpetuating the belief that, see, this is your fault. This is something wrong with you, not me. And it's all coming from the ego. It's all coming from a defensive state that this person is not willing to take personal responsibility or accountability about their actions. Instead, they're projecting all of it on you. That can be very heavy to hold. So then she would experience that intermittent reinforcement cycle. He would come back to her through email, apologize, make all the false promises that it'll never happen again, send all the loving, sweet messages, filled her with hope, think that things would be different. He would be placing those fantasies and visions back into her mind that things can and will go back to the way they were. And and that is why it is so hard to leave someone that we love. We don't even know how to be without them. They have convinced us that we need them in some way, that we cannot do life without them, that we are nothing without them. And this cycle of keeping us hanging on that string, keeping us in this hope. The love bombing and the devaluation that follows from that, where we feel worthless, the discarding, where we feel like we're nothing to them. And then they come back around, making us feel special again. And as a result, she became a shell of herself. I saw this with my own eyes. She was embarrassed. She kept calling herself weak, that she can't leave this person. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm putting up with this. I'm so weak. And I had to say to her, my love, you are not weak. You are in a trauma bond. And I want you to know that this is not a reflection of who you are, of your character, and of your identity. Your nervous system has now equated this chaos with connection. And this is the space where you're at. And by saying that, you're alleviating shame because it's not because you're weak, it's because of this reason. She would find herself hiding the abuse, making excuses for him. She has two little daughters, and she was doing her best to hide it from them. But then she said that there were times where she couldn't, and her daughters saw the state that she would be in, the panic, the anxiety, the crying, the anger, the big, heavy emotions that would come as a result of being trapped in this cycle. And she knew that her daughters were now witnessing this. And that was a massive motivation for her to come to me and say, I am ready to do this work because something needs to change. She knew deep down that this was abusive. She knew deep down that there was, even though he kept telling her that she was a toxic one, she was the narcissist, she knew deep down that she wasn't. So I want you to hear it from Cara firsthand where she was when she was stuck in this trauma bond.
I was in a very dark place. I was in a relationship where I was treated very badly. It was toxic. I felt helpless. I felt worthless. I didn't receive any help. I had to beg for love. I had to beg to be treated nicely. It was unbearable at this time. I was in this relationship for 3 years. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I didn't like myself. And I saw your videos on Instagram, and they totally was. I was in the situations. I saw myself there, and it was totally crazy. I didn't want to be there anymore. But I knew that I couldn't do this on my own or alone. I have my friend, and she really helped me. But I really knew that I couldn't do this without professional help, really.
In our first session, she didn't really believe that she could leave this relationship. She didn't know how it could be possible, but something had shifted in her. I could feel it. And I see this all the time with clients that come into my one-on-one practice. When you make the decision to invest in something, because let me be honest with you, my program is not cheap, and it is not cheap for numerous of reasons, but one of those reasons is that when you invest resources, money, it's time, it's energy, when you choose to invest your resources in something, something happens within you. You then think, right, I have to show up for this. I have to do this. There is a lot of skin in the game now. This is not something that I'm getting for free that I can dip out of. Oh no, you are serious when you invest your resources. You are committed. And when you get to that place, there is no turning back, only forward. You refuse to turn back. So even in that moment that she said yes to this one-on-one program, she decided, her soul decided in that moment that she was free. Now, it's usually a last resort once you've tried everything, just like Cara did. So it has to work. This is my last chance. This is the last thing that I'm trying. And if this doesn't work, then I'm doomed. I'm screwed. You are so determined in that moment to make it work. And even in that moment, you feel your strength coming back. You feel that secure self that is within, that crumb of self-worth coming through, being like, I deserve to break free of this. I am refusing to stay trapped. So I also believe in divine intervention, that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I always believe in that you are with me for a reason. I am with you for a reason. And together we are co-creating absolute magic in your life, life-changing transformation in your life, whether it's leaving that toxic relationship, healing those attachment wounds of abandonment and rejection so you can call in the greatest love of your life. This is magic we're doing together. So this is what we did on that first session. We created something that I called the Break the Bond plan. And it was a roadmap that I put together for her that will emotionally, energetically, and somatically release her from the hold that this man had on her. So I'm going to walk you through each element very briefly and why it matters in the space of breaking trauma bonds. So the first thing that we did was work with the body. The nervous system is completely activated. We needed to deregulate. We needed to come back down into a state of calm, groundedness, reconnection, so you can then reopen parts of the brain, the neocortex here in the frontal lobe, so you can start to make rational decisions. So you can start to see things clearly for what they are. Because when we are living in our survival state or in our emotional brain, we lose our power in those spaces. So that is the first thing we did. We dropped straight in to getting to know what was going on in her nervous system, in her body, and start to shift some of that anxiety and trauma through. Started to move it through. And she started to recognize what those sensations were when she is around him and how they were starting to manifest into physical ailments as well. Your body will always tell you when you are on a state of dysregulation. So through breath work and really getting in touch with all the different elements that were showing up in her body, we were able to bring her down. That is the first step. The second thing that we did was get in touch with her inner child. So I took her through a very powerful visualization where we connected her with the part, with the inner child within her that felt terrified to leave, that felt worthless, that felt that she had to prove herself to be loved, that she had to chase love, all coming from the conditioning of our childhood. And yes, it can come from the conditioning of our childhood. It can also come from early relational experiences as well. So we were getting to the root of why she was staying in this trauma bond. We started to have this conversation with the inner child. We started to create safety for the inner child. We invited her secure self into the dialogue so we could be with that scared part of us and start to shift it into strength. The third thing that we did, I started to reorientate her to the ways that she did feel empowered in her life. And I call this glimmers. When we think about the way that we show up in our best capacity, for a lot of us, it's our career. We feel so empowered in our career. Same with me. When I was going through my emotionally abusive relationship, it was my work where I found refuge. It was the same with Cara. When we showed up to work, we felt like our best selves. And we started to retrain her brain to recognize where she felt safe, where she could find even the littlest of glimmers of joy and love from her friends, from her family, who is showing up for you in the way that you deserve to be shown up for. Where are you getting that access to love that you so desperately want over here from this partner? And we can start to reorientate ourselves to realize that actually there are people, there are spaces that we feel safe in. Sometimes we cannot access it within. That takes time and that's okay. But we can start to orientate and put ourselves purposely, intentionally, consciously into those spaces, even if it's like a little corner in your home where we can feel safe, because it all comes back to feeling safe. So we did that in the call, and then her assignment, her invitation after the call, now that we built, now that she got access to that inner safety and she's going to carry it through the week with her, I invited her to create what I call a secure self letter. I said to her, do it right after the session. Now you're in this space of feeling grounded and safety. Get into nature, write yourself a letter from your secure self. And this is what she said changed everything. Because she was in this space, now that she felt safe, she felt supported, she was able to burst that bubble. She was able to snap herself out of it, in her own words. She was able to lift the veil of what she was experiencing. And it was an aha moment for her. And I'm going to let her tell you in her own words what her journey was like in that very first session.
Just seeing how bad I was treated by him. One of the first things I had to do was to write myself a letter. If I have the feeling to get in touch with him again, I have to read this letter. And in writing it, it was crazy, because there I really noticed what he has done to me, what he said to me, and that I don't have to do this to me. This was, yes. It showed me that I am so much more and worthy, but I had to learn this. You showed me so much instruments to show myself, or to focus on myself, how I am, who I am, and that I'm such a nice person and I don't need him. With these instruments, I really learned this, that I am enough.
So after she did that exercise and before she came to our second session, She messaged me and she said that on her 3-year anniversary with this person, she blocked him and deleted him for good. She had made that final decision. And sometimes we need that cherry on top event. And that's exactly what happened to her, where she had an episode where he publicly humiliated her again, went back on his promises, and this time it was different because of what we did in our first session. She said it was like a veil had been lifted and she could see him for who he truly was. In that moment, he no longer had power over her. In that moment, the spell broke. She took off those rose-tinted glasses and she could finally see. And not because she suddenly stopped loving him. It's really not as easy as that, that all of a sudden the bond is broken. It's because she refused in that moment to keep betraying herself, to keep abandoning herself. She had found that strength that was always within, and she tapped into that in that moment. Now, as we know, things are never easy or plain sailing. She was challenged. 3 weeks later, into her no contact, he reached out again via email. They always find a way. And it was the same cycle repeating itself. But this time was different. She did not respond. We had a whole session on this as well, where we really sat with her feelings and emotions, and those old familiar patterns started to rise. But she was not alone. She had a support system. She already felt a glimpse of that freedom, of that joy, that life that she could have without this relationship. She had found her inner strength and she had put a stop to needing his attention, to needing his love. She was starting to cultivate that within. And this can happen very quickly. It did for me within a matter of months, and the same with Cara, because when we start to unlock it, it's like it overflows and it just completely overwhelms us to the state of euphoria, of complete freedom. And another thing is that she started to see her role in the cycle as well. So she started to see, okay, this is where I know now from reflecting on the past, this is where I could do things differently. Not blaming herself, not shaming herself, but being aware of how she was keeping herself stuck in the cycle. What beliefs were showing up at what times, how she was then reacting to sadness, loneliness, her big emotions. And she made the decision to start prioritizing her peace there and then. She finally faced the fear of abandonment, that we did that together. Instead of running away from it, we really got to the root. And this is when I started to introduce one of the frameworks that I work with, especially in these cases when it comes to healing the anxious attachment wounds that keep us trapped in these cycles, is what I call the 5 A's. And that is awareness. We created so much awareness. We brought all the subconscious fears and belief up to the surface and started to unpack them together. Attunement, started to get reattuned with her nervous system, with her needs, with her safety and strength. Authenticity, starting to realize that she was not herself in this relationship. And when she was starting to get those glimmers of who she used to be, of who she wants to be, that's when we can start to step into our authenticity. Autonomy, speaking up for yourself, finding your voice, finally. That person no longer has power over you and you're taking that back. An assertion, saying no, not even responding to those text messages, that you are being assertive not only with them, but with yourself, because you know that this is the best thing that you can do for yourself and you need to be assertive in that moment. So let's see where Cara is now, 2 months into our program. Every time I come onto our sessions every week, it is like meeting with a different woman. Her skin has changed, everything has changed. She has this light around her and she's smiling and she's relaxed. It's the most incredible thing to see, and I always feel so honored and blessed to be in this role that I get to witness women coming back into their power. Every week she tells me and she thanks me. She thanks me because she's in a space of feeling so safe, so at peace, so in joy, reconnected not to herself in a way that she's starting to rediscover who she is again, reconnected to her friends that she was not allowed to see. She says that she's laughing a lot. Her laugh, it just affects people around her. And she just has this light. And she says, I could never imagine, I could never believe that I could feel this happy. I never thought I would reach this place where I would realize that I didn't need him. I am enough. I am amazing. She also says, why did I put up with it for so long? Why did I keep quiet? Why did I go through 3 years of that? And we have to work with that part as well, so we don't fall into shaming. And we have to be just in trust that this pain that we've been through is not going to be senseless, even in the moment that it does feel like it. That we need to be patient, we need to give it time, and we need to just come back to where we are currently and presently without going and falling back into that shame element. And now she describes her days as being so happy, so calm, so grounded. She's spending lots of time with her daughters. She's gone on holiday and she's even making new love connections. She's taking her time, she's being really slow, and she's saying things like, this is so different to what I have just experienced than what I've experienced in the past 3 years. This is what it gets to feel like. This is what feeling secure, feeling assured in myself feels like. And now I can open my heart to these new connections and take my time, normalizing the slow burn, recognizing the love bombing and the red flags that might be coming our way. She's finally found that peace in herself. So let's hear it from Cara in her own words.
He reached out to me 3 weeks after I said no and broke the contact. 3 weeks. I knew at this time I'm not alone. I am not alone. And I also knew that I'm strong enough to get over this whole thing, that I don't need him. I don't need his attention. And I don't need his tactics to get in touch with me. I don't need him at all. It's totally crazy. I didn't think that this would happen so fast, but I really, I'm enjoying my life. I'm feeling safe. I have my peace. I have loved so much. I have joy in my life. It's so much better without him. I have so many friends. I get so many compliments. I am so happy. I'm laughing a lot. It's wonderful, wonderful journey to get to know myself. I would never thought that I am so happy. I would never thought that I would do so much in my private life. I'm meeting with friends again. I was not allowed to. I'm laughing with my colleagues. I am having the best time with my children. My life is so much better without him. I am enough just the way I am. I love myself more than ever before. There were no fears. There was just hope that I would get the help I really need, because it is difficult to get over it by yourself. It is very difficult. I think you really know how to help a woman in this situation to get out of this. You really know that, and it really helped me, and I'm so thankful.
So if you listen to this, you're still stuck in a cycle that really hurts, that you feel trapped by, just know that there's nothing wrong with you, that you are worthy of beautiful, safe love. And you have nothing to be ashamed of. You have nothing to feel embarrassed about. Your body has learned that this chaos equates to love, but it can relearn how to feel safe in a different type of love. You are supported. You are not alone. You are guided and you are protected. It's about tapping into that energy. Start to notice how God is working in your life, putting people in your life to support you. Because just like Cara says, we cannot do it alone. I couldn't do it alone. She couldn't do it alone. Find yourself your support system, that professional help that can guide you out of this darkness. Cara and I's hope is that this episode has provided you with a sense of hope that you can leave this cycle, that things do get to be different. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but my God, the freedom you feel at the end of it, I want every single person to know that that is available to them once they make that decision, that there is so much happiness, peace, freedom on the other side of this darkness. You don't need years. Like I had to take years, and that was my journey. That doesn't need to be your journey. Sometimes it just takes that one moment of truth, of awakening, of a decision that you are no longer going to play a part in this bond, in this cycle. You are worthy of love that doesn't hurt you. And before I leave this episode and I hand it over to Cara because she has a beautiful message for you, if this episode has spoken to you in any way and you do want to seek some further support and you want to know how my program can also support you to break the bond, to leave the cycles behind and come back to yourself, your secure self, build that inner safety and go through the same journey that Cara has been through, I would love to invite you to get in touch. You can send me a DM on Instagram and we can start a conversation from there. Completely pressure free. I just want to hold the space for you to really see and start to identify what your next steps are. And we can start this conversation together. And for now, I'm going to hand it over to Cara. And I want to thank you again for being here and to see you in the next episode. If there's a woman right now listening to this and she's where you were at, stuck in a toxic relationship, desperate to get out, feeling so lonely, what would you want to say to her?
I would say to her that she is not alone and she is not the woman he is calling her. She's so much more. You just have to find out.
Do you think something like coaching or this program would really support her?
Absolutely, because it helped me and I'm happier than ever before. Really. I'm just happy and I love my life and I love myself.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast. If you really enjoyed this episode, it would really mean a lot to me if you was to share this episode with a friend who really needs to hear what has been talked about today, and also to rate and review this podcast. Hit that subscribe or follow button so you don't miss any new episodes coming out. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode.